The headlines arrived with unusual weight. Breaking news spread quickly across newspapers, television, and radio stations throughout Britain. One journalist's career had influenced public debate for decades. Many readers considered Rod Liddle one of Britain's most recognizable newspaper columnists. Others knew him as a broadcaster whose opinions regularly sparked discussion. His writing attracted both strong support and strong criticism, making him one of the country's most talked-about commentators. Whether people agreed with him or not, his articles were rarely ignored. Long before national recognition, he was simply a young man fascinated by politics, society, and the written word. Rod Liddle was born on April 1st, 1960, in Sidcup, Kent, England. He grew up during a period when Britain was undergoing major political, economic, and cultural change. Factories, newspapers, and television shaped everyday life across the country. The growing influence of television and print journalism transformed how people received information. Journalism was becoming one of Britain's most influential professions. As a student, Rod Liddle developed a deep interest in politics, economics, and current affairs. That passion eventually led him to study at the London School of Economics. University life exposed him to different political ideas, debates, and economic theories. Those experiences helped shape the analytical writing style that later became his trademark. Like many successful journalists, he began his career in local newsrooms. Reporting on ordinary people and everyday events taught him the importance of accuracy, curiosity, and clear storytelling. Those early years built the foundation for a career that would eventually reach millions of readers and listeners. After gaining experience in local journalism, Rod Liddle began looking beyond regional news. Politics gradually became the subject that interested him most. He wanted to understand how government decisions affected ordinary people's daily lives. For a period, he worked as a speechwriter connected with the Labour Party, gaining first-hand experience inside the political world. That role showed him how speeches, campaigns, and political messages were carefully planned before reaching the public. The experience gave him a deeper understanding of Britain's political system. As his confidence grew, his writing developed a unique style that combined analysis, humor, and personal observation. Readers quickly recognized his distinctive voice, even when they disagreed with his opinions. Rather than avoiding difficult subjects, he chose to write about them directly, making his columns impossible to ignore. His growing reputation eventually opened the door to one of Britain's most influential broadcasting organizations, the BBC. Joining the BBC marked one of the biggest milestones of his career. He entered a fast-moving newsroom where accuracy, speed, and teamwork were essential every single day. The journey from local newspapers to national broadcasting reflected years of dedication and professional growth. Radio journalism required quick decisions, careful editing, and absolute attention to detail. In 1998, he became editor of BBC Radio 4's Today program, one of Britain's best-known news broadcasts. The position placed him at the center of the country's morning news coverage. Every day's editorial decisions influenced the stories millions of listeners would hear. Working alongside presenters, producers, reporters, and interviewers, he helped shape the program's direction. Millions of people across Britain tuned in every morning to follow the latest national and international events. By this stage of his career, Rod Liddle had established himself as one of the most influential figures in British broadcasting. The BBC newsroom never stood still. Every morning began before sunrise as journalists prepared the day's biggest stories. Behind every headline was careful research, fact-checking, and editorial discussion. Interviews with politicians, experts, and public figures became a regular part of the program. Live broadcasting demanded confidence, accuracy, and quick decision-making. Across the United Kingdom, millions of listeners depended on the morning broadcast for trusted news. The program covered politics, business, health, science, and major international events. Every editorial meeting helped determine which stories would shape the national conversation. His influence extended beyond the radio studio into newspapers and public debate. Rod Liddle had become a nationally recognized media figure. After leaving the BBC, he continued building his career as a newspaper columnist. His opinion pieces attracted attention from supporters and critics alike. Politics, culture, society, and current affairs remained the focus of his writing. Television appearances introduced his views to even wider audiences. He continued broadcasting on radio while regularly publishing newspaper columns. His career eventually stretched across newspapers, radio, television, and book publishing. Writing books became another way to share his ideas with readers. As both a columnist and broadcaster, his public profile continued to grow. His work influenced discussions far beyond newspaper pages. By this stage, Rod Liddle had become one of Britain's best-known and most widely recognized media commentators. Even after decades in journalism, Rod Liddle continued writing with the same determination that had defined his career. His weekly columns remained part of Britain's national conversation. From local newspapers to national broadcasting, his career reflected years of persistence, experience, and strong opinions. His work continued to attract attention from both loyal readers and outspoken critics. Then came the news that marked the end of an extraordinary media career. Reports announced that Rod Liddle had died at the age of 66. Newsrooms across Britain paused to remember one of the country's most recognizable columnists and broadcasters. Newspapers reflected on his long career and the debates his writing had inspired. Readers looked back on decades of opinion pieces that challenged ideas and sparked discussion. Journalists remembered a colleague whose work consistently attracted national attention. His influence reached newspapers, radio, television, and public debate. His career demonstrated the lasting power of journalism and thoughtful commentary. Future writers and broadcasters would continue learning from his work and distinctive style. His articles remained part of Britain's media history long after they were first published. Whether readers agreed with his opinions or strongly disagreed with them, his impact was difficult to deny. His writing encouraged people to question, debate, and think more deeply about the issues shaping society. The conversations he started continued long after each article was published. His legacy extended beyond headlines and broadcasts to the influence he had on public discussion. Every journalist leaves behind stories. Rod Liddle's legacy lives on through the conversations his words inspired.